That's something we learn. It's not something we're born with. It's something that we learn as we grow. And as we begin to understand what God expects us to do. Timothy had that understanding. Paul here is exhorting him to continue in that understanding. Continue in that he has learned. How did he learn it? His grandmother and his mother taught him. Had to be taught. You know, one of the things that we often look at as Christians is, and whenever we're talking to young people, we always cover this, and Darren covered a little bit of this, so I'm going to cover it again. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1. Anybody tell me what that says? Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1. It starts out children. So who are we talking to here? We're talking to children. That's who Paul's addressing here. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Now, Darren covered this, and obeying our parents in the Lord, doing those things that God would have us do. If it's not in accordance to the will of God, we don't have an obligation to obey our parents in that. If our parents teach us to go out and steal, we're not obligated to do that. Now, if our parents tell us to pick up and clean up our room, we best be doing it. Obey your parents. That's what it means. Verse 2 says, honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise. Honor thy father and mother. The word honor here sometimes is translated as to revere. To have that proper respect for our father and mother. Now, he doesn't just say for your father and mother if they're Christians. He says for your father and mother. Have that proper respect because they are your parents. Because they have a responsibility to watch out for your well-being. And for the most part, they will. It says, which is the first commandment with promise. And then he goes on to say, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest live long on the earth. You ever stop to think about, at this point in time, children that were not obedient to their parents, children that were disrespectful to their parents, under the Jewish law, what happened to them? They were taken out of the city and stoned. Now, is that just for not cleaning up your room? No, this would have been for something more significant than that. But what Paul is talking about here is having that respect for our parents so that we will always do what's right. Now, as we get older, as we become adults, we still have some obligation to our parents. We have an obligation to take care of our parents, to do those things that they need, because by the same token, they took care of us when we were not able to. But what he's really talking about here is having that respect for our mother and father so that we do, so that we show that respect to them. But it's also a two-way street. In verse 4, it says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Provoke not your children to wrath. What does it mean to provoke? The word provoke here simply means to cause them to be angry without a cause. It's a provoking. There's no reason. Now, does that mean that when your child gets angry because he's going to get a spanking, that we're provoking him to wrath? No, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about without a cause. Our children are going to be angry at us from time to time. It happens. Are we sinning in doing that? No. It's part of teaching them. It's part of our responsibility as parents to them. We have to teach them what's right and what's wrong. And they're going to get mad. They're going to get angry. Now, if we just do something to cause them to be angry, just to make fun of them or whatever, then that's what he's talking about here. We should not do that. But on the contrary, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. here again, this is that commitment to our children. We need to be committed to doing what's right in the sight of God. We need to be committed to putting out the time and the effort it takes so that they have the ability to know what's right and what's wrong.